Hello, every good Sunday morning. Happy Sunday Sunday. We are missing a couple of our scoops today, but maybe they'll be sliding in here to join our conversation. We're kind of spread out today. Carolina's out visiting her daughter in college. The rest of us are in our particular homes. So we're just going to have a conversation today about a topic that I have been thinking about. I listen to a lot of podcasts. Hopefully you all do too, especially ours. And there's something that's been on my mind, something that I've been contemplating and thinking about in several episodes again. And actually, I don't even know if we recorded this, but we were having a conversation and we were talking about like making things happen, manifesting. And I had shared with you guys that I'd heard a line that said, and this was from Kathy Heller. She said, we don't get what we want. We get what we are. And that's been on my mind a lot. And then I was listening to another Kathy Heller. She's my guru. She was talking about this study, and I can't remember the researcher's name now. She did an experiment with children and an experiment with adults. So the adult one was she had these individuals come into the lab and they had written on the chalkboard different colors. So for example, yellow, green, purple, red, but they wrote yellow in purple. They wrote green in brown. They wrote blue in red. And the whole experiment was that they just had to read the colors.
I saw
And
that.
most of them got it wrong because they were reading the color that they saw, not the color that was written. So instead of if brown was written in yellow, they would say yellow. She said the failure rate was like extremely high. And so then they took them back out and they said, we have these lab coats that are, MIT, like super high caliber researchers wear when they're in the lab. So we'd like you to go put these coats on, go back in and try the experiment again. 100%. 100% pass rate. Okay.
Wow.
So then this researcher had this idea, like, I wonder, how children react in types of situations like this. And so she had children go into a room and she gave them a big set of keys, like, in high school, like the janitor would have that big keychain, something like that, and closed the door and said, okay, you guys have the key. You just have to open the door. If you don't open it in 5 minutes, don't worry. I'll be back and I'll open the door for you. They couldn't do it. They couldn't find the key. She went back out and she brought them all out and she's like, all right, now you guys are all superheroes. And she gave them capes. She gave them superhero capes, like Wonder Woman, Superman, whatever the superheroes are that wear capes. Had them go back in. What do you think happened?
They all opened it.
They all opened the door.
Yeah. Wow.
So it got me, like, it set me back to that idea of you don't get what you want, you get what you are. When you wear the persona of a superhero or the persona of a doctor, a researcher, somebody who's highly intelligent, how perception changes and your reality changes. So I've really been that's really been on my mind because.
Oh man, Paula, you're gonna make me put my thinking cap on this morning.
Or your
Sure.
superhero cape.
Or my superhero cape.
I've just been really contemplating on that because a lot of us have this desires in our heart, things on our mind that we wish that we could accomplish, we wish that we could do, but our own self-limiting thoughts get in the way. And how something so simple as putting on a superhero cape or a doctor's jacket, there goes the cat, changes your reality. That's what I want to talk about today. I'm going to pause really quick because I'm going to go close my door. So speak away.
Love this topic.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a good one.
I actually did see that
Dress to
experiment with the
impress to
colors.
next level.
Yeah, I found that to be. I wish I was a part of that experiment. I wonder how I would have done without going into that experiment without knowing. Very interesting.
Well, your brain, as far as the color thing goes, there's an element there of your brain will fill things in to try and make things make sense. And sometimes it's can trick you into thinking that something is reality, but sometimes it can also protect you in certain situations. So that's very interesting. But I think when you're, did they talk about why the colors, why people would read the wrong color? Just the brain part of it? being
I
the
don't
nurse that I am.
I don't it was just more about the difference when you assume a different personality.
Mhm. Got it.
I think that was the takeaway message. It's just something that I've been contemplating because, again, as I mentioned earlier, I think we all, and maybe I'm just assuming that, we all have ways that we'd like to live or ways that we'd like to make money or ways that we'd like to spend our time.
Mhm.
And how in this body that I'm in right now as Paula, like I stop myself from thinking that I can do that. Well, that's not for me, or who am I to do that? Or I'm not smart enough. I don't have that knowledge. I didn't grow up in the right home. But again, in these experiments, all it took was changing your perception
So,
to solve that problem. I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, no, that is how I am moving forward right now. I had a lot of thoughts that I feel kind of put me in the situation that I am right now. But moving forward, and I'm going to say I am in a good situation in some aspect. Actually, I feel like I'm in a good situation all around. Let's just put it that way. But some of you know that I call myself La Jefa. I call myself the boss because that's what I want to be the boss. I don't want to check into a job anymore. I don't want to report to anybody. I want to be my own boss. I don't want to be a boss over anybody else, but I want to have passive income. This is what I want to do. And so I am operating my mind. I've tried to change my mindset to this is what I want to do. This is how I want to be. Same when it comes to relationships. I know the role that I want. I know where I want to be, and that's how I'm going to operate because I know what I want. And
Mhm.
so if you're out here acting for me, if I'm out here acting a particular way, the word that I like to use is hussy. If I'm out here acting like a hussy, I'm going to invite hussy behavior, hussy kind of energy, and that's not what I want. So
Mhm.
if I act a particular way, this is the energy that I'm going to invite. I know what I want. I know what I want as far as a partner. I know what I want as far as income. I know what I want. And I know I can have that. And so I've really just put that out there. And I don't know if manifestation is the word that I would use. It's just a thought process. I know what I want and I'm not going to bend on that. I was telling you guys at the dinner table when we last all went to dinner and I just told you what I'm striving for. And so I totally get that. And that's been my mindset for the last few months. But I remember I would say 6 months ago or 9 months ago, I used to think about how things would be different, if my daughter moved in and the grandkids moved in and now I have an empty house. And did I manifest that? Did I manifest that empty space,
Mm.
So, remember that saying, "Be careful what you wish for."
Mhm.
I didn't wish for it, but you gotta.
Mhm. And this type of language, I mean, I think we probably have all learned it sometime in the past. I don't know if you remember, Carolina, when we were living in Las Vegas and Jules and I were doing those seminars,
Mm.
the thing, like thoughts are things,
To think is
don't
to
believe,
create.
to think is to create.
Mhm.
And,
Wow.
don't believe everything you think. Like all of these things. I mean, I'm 51 years old. And I've known all of this for so long, and now I'm really, like, thinking on it seriously and putting different steps into action and I think it comes down to mindfulness, to self-awareness, to just really interrupt negative things that sneak into my mind. And something that I'm trying really hard to do is, like, before I bounce out of bed every morning, is just to take a minute and really focus, or, like, not
Mhm.
shift my mind, but, like, really align my mind with the way that I want my day to go, instead of
Mhm.
just jumping up and being like, gotta get up, gotta make the coffee, gotta shower, gotta feed the dogs, blah, 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 blah.
Chore, chore, chore.
Chore, chore, chore. Yeah, just taking a couple of minutes. First of all, gratitude. It starts with gratitude. So again, just taking, even if it's like 30 seconds, to catch myself before my day gets on this blah, blah, blah sort of track, to set the intention of how I want my day to go. And same thing when I go to bed, is those few minutes before I drift off, to reflect on how things went in the day, and end in gratitude, and end in gratefulness. That shift in our mindset to give thanks for everything we do have and not focus so much on everything that I don't have that I want to have.
Mhm.
So,
It
Carolina, I know
just
you have
makes me
limited
think
time.
yeah, I do have to go soon. We got to drive an hour to a volleyball game. This just really makes me think about this class I've been doing for the last 2 weeks at my church. And we've been talking about who we are and what defines you, like what makes you drive. Like when somebody asks you, like, what do you stand for? Who are you? The answer is a lot of people will say, oh, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a student, I'm an athlete. But who you are is a child of God, period. That is who I am. And when we live our life in that way, we see our self-worth and we find that our thoughts are valuable because we are valuable and all things are possible with God, right? When you respond to, I am a child of God, I am valuable, then yes, you can do anything. And it doesn't mean that you're, manifesting something or creating something that isn't already there because we are made perfect. We are made perfectly in his image and you are valuable and you can do hard things like Paula says all the time. But these negative thoughts, and it's just so interesting to be reminded of something so simple. The negative thoughts come from the enemy. The good thoughts come from God. And when you just live that way, Paula, how you were just talking about, writing a gratitude journal or thinking about positive things and how you want your day to go and how you want things to develop throughout the day, all those good things come from God. So you just got to get the negative out, leave the negative out. There's no reason for it. All the negative self-talk. And, as women, we do it, I think like 70% more often than men or something. There's some statistics out there about negative talk. I wish I had the actual numbers, but because men are providers, they are hunters and gatherers. And, that is their value. That is how they find their worth, is providing. But as women, we are the nurturers, we are the guardians. And so there's a lot of negative self-talk that comes from that because we never feel like we're doing enough. But you guys are amazing. And Shannon, Paula, I love how you guys talk about the future and how you're changing things for yourself and for your life because you are seeing your value. And that is the most important thing. I love you,
You know,
girls.
I
I
think
know I love you too. I know you have to. Oh, go ahead, Erin. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I think it does come down to those practices too. I think that there's so many societal influences that shape our thinking around things like this and our self-worth or how we perceive our self-worth. And we don't come into the world that way, though. As Carolina talked about, we are children of God and are very close to our sense of self and our value. And it's not as complex as we make it when we become a part of the world. And then there is a focus a lot of the time on how others see us. And that sometimes can become our own self image when a lot of those things may not be true. What is laid upon us or the expectations that we pick up along the way of what we're supposed to do in life and how our lives are supposed to look. And, all of the comparing, with others around us. And one of my favorite yoga teachers read a quote one time in a class, and it was comparison is the thievery of all joy.
Yes, I've
And
heard
I
that.
absolutely love that because when we focus on ourselves, very different than when you're looking at someone else and comparing yourself. And so I love, Paula, how you start your day and finish your day because when I do those practices, like actually meditating in the morning or spending time to pray and really taking time to be intentional about what I want my day to look like, things go very much different than when I just am rolling from day to day. I get up out of bed and do my action items and I get busy and then you become part of the world. All those expectations, I don't get what I want when I operate that way, but when I'm very intentional and mindful and I'm looking inward, before I start my day, it looks so much different. Our minds and our hearts, our souls are so powerful. We forget how much when we put our energy into those things, how we really can shape our lives. So, and I have to say this is one of the biggest things is surrounding yourself by people who see you for who you really are and knowing your heart and
Yes.
reminding you who you are, which we all have as such a blessing here in our friendship. And reminding ourselves or reminding each other of who we really are when we forget, or when we fall down and need to pick ourselves up, to be reminded of that. So for me, those are the things that really I just hold dearly in my heart and really help me, when I'm having those doubtful feelings, which happen a little too often for me, or I've
Mhm.
got big dreams and then I get in my head of, well, who are you to, like you don't have the education for that. And, like you didn't, this, I don't think that
No.
literally, but,
Mhm.
figuratively, that's what's going on in my head.
Mhm.
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 So I love you all for being so encouraging as the beautiful women you are. And I think we all do that for each other, too, which is awesome.
It's beautiful. We're very lucky.
Savvy, did you want to say something? Did you kind of catch the gist of our conversation?
I did. And I just wanted to say, in regards to Lena, I was thinking about the scripture, let this mind that is in Christ Jesus also be in you. I think it's how that goes. And making our minds stay on top of the positive, because we do stay on top of the negative a lot. I love affirmations. I think that's my love language, is affirmations, and giving people affirmations just so that they feel good about themselves, because I feel so good about myself. You won't ever really find me beating myself up. And so that's why I think that my love language is affirmation, because I see myself so beautifully and I want everyone to see themselves the way that I see myself, because we are all beautifully and wonderfully made, as Carolina said. So I just wanted to chime in on that.
I love that you said that because a few days ago, my sister in law posted something and I want to share it here. She said, I recently heard someone say, when I wake up, I pray that God gets in my head before I do. And honestly, that's the best thing I ever heard. I feel like I need to write that down and put it on a post-it on my mirror in my bathroom. But because what I do have on my bathroom right now is God, show me how good life can be. And I say that to myself every morning because life is so good. And I had a really tough day last week. I called Savvy in
That's okay.
tears. It was a really, really tough day for me. I actually wanted to even quit my job. And I never want to quit my job. And amongst other things, it was a tough day. And the next day was a beautiful day. And if I had given up that day, I would have never experienced the next day. I was just so grateful for the next day because the next day was a wonderful day. And not everybody gets to experience another beautiful day, but I have to remember what my dad always told me is that this too shall pass. And so we just have to keep faith and that things will get better and put it in our mind. If you put it out there, it's going to get better. What am I going to do? How am I going to make this get better? Kind of like the book that we were talking about, Erin, doing things for yourself that fill your cup. What are we doing what are we going to do to make ourselves feel good one day at a time, one day at a time? And it really is true. One day at a time. We just work on one day at a time to manifest what it is or, what to get to that goal. It's just, what do you need to do today to reach that goal? And then you can work on tomorrow, the next day. It was a tough day. It was a tough day. I talked to Erin. You guys are just great people to reach out to.
So Erin kind of touched on this a few minutes ago, but something else that, that I often hear is that, we got to be careful who we surround ourselves with because we become like, and I don't think it's we become our friends, but we become like the people that we spend the most amount of time with. So this circle of friendship is so important because it's our accountability circle, but it's also where we hold each other up and cheer each other on. Um, and learn from the wisdom of women. There's so much wisdom in women, as you all know. When I start my day and end my day, that's definitely something that's on my heart is gratitude for our friendship circle because it's a huge part of shaping my mind each and every day. So the whole idea is perception. We're talking about how do we change our reality by changing our perception of who we are.
I love the word perception. First off, let me say how much my daughter hates that word. The P words are the worst in our house. She hates that word because everyone's perspective is their own perspective. I always ask my kids growing up, I don't know what you see when you see me, but what I see when I see me, I see beauty, because that was my perception. I really don't know what everyone else sees when they see me. And so I think that first off, that study, was the door locked? Was the door even locked in the study? It was, because that's
Mhm.
usually the first trick. The door's already unlocked. But it's interesting that the kids needed a cape to make them feel like they had all the power to do what they needed. But, it's kind of funny because God is that cape for us when we think about it, or whatever you believe in to be your covering. For me, it's God. I can't open any door without him. That's my perception. I
Mm.
can't open any lock in this world without him. I need him as my shield and my covering because I don't even know what's beyond that door. I don't even know what I'm walking into. So I guess that would be a fair perception from those kids to think that they needed to be superheroes, because I think we all have that kind of thought process that we can't move without the approval, or without the go ahead, or without, whatever it may be that might be holding you back. But for them, it was the cape that gave them their superpower to move forward to do such a thing. And so it's just interesting that perception is everything in our life, how we see everything, how we move every day, how we function. And another thing you said was the company we keep. It's so important,
Mm.
the company we keep, because if you're around someone who is constantly feeding negativity into your ear gates, I promise you're going to feel negative. What is that study when you speak to water? The water gets cloudy if you talk negative to it, and
Same with
the
plants.
clean water,
Yeah.
and same with
Mhm.
plants. Yeah, like they absolutely feed off of the environment that goes into them, which is amazing too. That lets you know that water is alive and plants are
Yeah.
alive. Sorry, didn't mean to go deep left on y'all. But
No, I think
That's-
I think that's great.
I love
Yeah.
that.
My quote on my Facebook page is 1 Corinthians 15:13. Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. And it is so true. And I had this conversation with someone recently about the company he keeps. It speaks a lot about your character, about the people that you're
Yeah.
around. And I don't want to be around you. If that's the company you keep, if you see that this person has an evil heart, if you see that this person has bad character and they have done bad things, why are you keeping that company around you? You can
wouldn't that
limit
make you
that
feel
you can limit
uncomfortable?
that. Yeah, you've seen this
It
person. You see
would.
how they treat others. So why are you inviting this in around you? And so and I think I've shared the story with you. Many years ago, I went out with a woman, and she was married, and she was dressing in a way to where she wanted to cheat on her husband. This had to be like 20 years ago. And even then, even in my 20-year-old mind, I was like, this is not the company I want to keep. At that point, I wasn't even thinking about marriage, but you really do need to think about the company you keep. And that's what I love about you ladies. I love that we can go out and we can have a good time. And that's not the energy that we're inviting. We're not inviting drunkenness, and we're not inviting, what is the word I'm looking for? I know one of y'all can think about it.
Lasciviousness. I don't know what you're thinking
Oh,
of.
I like,
You said hussy earlier.
yes,
Hussy,
hussy
hussy
type
behavior.
behavior. Yes, yes. I don't know. I just feel so comfortable that, again, we could just be who we are and be genuine. I just love the energy, and the company you keep. It just says a lot about who you are. It says a lot about who you are.
Yeah, for sure. That's a blessing. The circle of
Amen.
friendship is a blessing.
It
Amen.
is. It is.
Speaking of, Savvy's husband joined us at dinner. And so he was our photographer, and it's so cute. He's posting pictures of the group all over social media. And so
Oh,
he
is
got
he?
to spend
He
time. Yes,
is.
he is. And so he got to spend some time with the group and get a little bit of the scoops, hanging out with the scoops. So that was fun.
That was fun. It was good to meet him.
You know,
How was that show? How was that reggae show?
it was nice. It was really nice. First off, let me tell y'all the venue. I could just, if y'all don't know nothing about me, I love history. It's one of my favorite things. It's not a hobby, it's a passion. And so it's just like I can feel the history around me. The energy is always so strong. But when I went into this venue, I felt like I was invited into this place of beautiful music atmosphere from the past. Like every African American artist from our past played in this spot. And
Hmm.
that was just so exciting for me. And all I could think about is whoever opened this venue years ago, if only they could see the venue today, to be fulfilling the very thought, their perception of what they saw way back then is still going on today. And it made me so happy. So I had a great time. I cornered the bartender and was like, dude, you got 10 minutes before people get up here and start filling this room. Tell me all that you know. And so she started spreading the tea, girl. She told me everything I needed to know about this lovely little spot. And I spent some good time there. It's amazing. That's what my focus was while everybody else was, enjoying the reggae. I was just trying to find out the history of this building, but I loved it. And I had a great time with my husband. And I want to say that I realized something about my husband. I'm a newlywed and I'm still learning my husband. I'm absolutely learning my husband. And I had to go back to high school and think about the friends that you have in high school. And there's always that one guy that fits in so well with all the girls. And he's like that guy that just fits. And so I started looking like, wow, that's my husband. He enjoyed himself taking pictures of us as much as he enjoyed posting these decon pictures. And I thought, wow, he just really wants to be invited is all that is. He's like that really cool guy that wants to just hang. And I guess women seem to be, sometimes we can be so friendly and so inviting if we have that kind of crowd, right? If we have that kind of group of friends. And so I think that that was something that he loved to see from us, is that we were just these friends that really, really enjoyed ourselves, had fun, laughing, taking pictures, and he really enjoyed you ladies. I just want to say that. I thought you made him feel very special. Most men be like, women, really? They go do what you want to do. No, not my husband. And this is our second occasion of him being around the group, because we went to lunch one day with some girlfriends, and that was Shannon and Carolina. And he was there and he enjoyed it. He fit right in. And I was like, okay, you're that friend from high school. Now I see where you fit in. So thanks for making him feel special, y'all, because he really did enjoy himself. I appreciate that.
That's awesome. I guess I kind of want to circle back to the beginning of our conversation and give some ourselves and anybody who's listening, like some actionable steps on how we can actually become the person, with the superhero cape, the person that solves the problem, that lets themselves out of that room. Because as we've been discussing, it's what could be possible for our lives if we merely changed the way that we see ourselves. So as we wrap up, I wanted to see, could we go around the room and give a takeaway? Like, what could we all put into practice today so that we can start developing that vision that we have for our lives?
Can I go first?
Does anybody? Yes, please.
Okay. So for me, it's a mirror. I love, 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 love looking in the mirror. Okay. I think that is the first step for me, because how I see myself, I told y'all, I don't know what you see when you see me, but when I see me, I see beauty. And I mean that. So I look in the mirror and I just take a look at myself. I look at my eyes. I look at my lips. I look at my little button nose. I mean, everything. I love this little button nose, but I didn't used to always love it. When we'll talk about that one day, because y'all see, I'm dark skinned, and dark skinned people have a hard time loving themselves in a color struck world. Let's just say that. And so it took me to going into the mirror and actually looking for my beauty, looking for something different, seeing something different, not seeing what everybody else saw, a little dark skinned girl, And so that would be my action step. Take a moment, look in the mirror. And don't be afraid of what you see. I promise you will see something special looking back at you, for real.
I also want to piggyback on that. I want to say in recent years, I found love for myself that I can never be stripped away from myself, can never be stripped. And it took me a long time to find that love. And unfortunately, it took someone to help me find that love. It's not something that I cultivated on my own. So finding that love for yourself, finding that beauty in yourself, get the thought, implant the thought, and have faith and say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And just keep telling yourself, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to do. And get that thought process out there. And having a great support system is nice too, but not everybody has that. So find it within yourself because not everybody has a great support system. And so if you can't lean on somebody else, just make sure you have yourself to lean on.
I think for
Awesome.
me, amen to everything that was just said here. I think for me, it's, making it a daily practice when you do have a vision, a goal, a dream, really putting those practices into place each day to solidify the energy in your own heart, of what your goal is and where you want to go, saying it, seeing it, feeling it, believing it, and reminding yourself each day of what that is and who you are in that process. And I think gratitude goes a long way, like you were talking about, Paula, and starting with that. I think feeling so much value for yourself to actually give yourself that time each day to do that, because it's so funny, the things that are the most important, we're like, but I don't have time. I've got all these other things I need to be doing when these are the most important things we can do for ourselves in our lives too. And so we must have the time and make the time for it. So I think that would be my advice and what helps me in those processes.
Thank you. As I've been, thinking about this whole idea of you don't get what you want, you get what you are. I think at the end of the day, whatever it is that we want, whether it's, a better job, more money, more loving, deeper relationship, what we're really after, isn't that thing. It's the feeling that comes from having that thing. And this, again, as I said earlier today, I feel like I learned all this stuff so many years ago. But I remember Aaron when at Mile High, a church in Denver, visiting a similar church when I lived in Las Vegas, I took some classes on science of the mind, like broke out into groups, and we were talking about the things that we want. And so you were paired with an individual and you just had to ask each other, what do you want? We were basically, paired off and you started with the question, what do you want? And the person would respond. And then the follow-up question was, what do you want from the thing that you say that you want? And you just kind of kept saying that. And again, the idea was that all these things that you say that you want, you're really after that feeling, right? You want to feel happy. You want to feel peace. You want to feel joy. You want to feel loved. You want to feel ease. So as I've been thinking about that stuff, and something else that I heard is you don't have to have the $1 million. You don't have to have the perfect job. You don't have to have the perfect relationship to feel joy, to feel love, to feel ease, to feel abundance. Like those feelings are available right now. So that's also something that I'm trying to focus more on, is that I don't have to have a certain X, Y, and Z to feel the way I want to feel. Like that's available right now. So that's also where I would encourage all of us to focus on is, those feelings, they're out there. Like Carolina said, we were all made in the highest image, the God image. And in Buddhism, we call it, the Buddha image. The seed of Buddhism is already within you. The seed of God is already within all of us. We don't have to wait for certain things to come about, to manifest, to become, to feel the way we want to feel. We can do that right now. And why wouldn't we? And then because you don't get what you are, because you don't get what you want, you get what you are. If we are already doing that, then how much more are we allowing to step into our lives?
And
I like that.
I think that, the concept of abundance comes in here too, that can really play into limiting beliefs, thinking that there's not enough when really everything in nature, is very abundant.
There's
We always have everything we need inside of us. And sometimes it's just taking a look inward to go, I've already got that. It's not out there. It's in here.
It's right here. I love that.
Amen. Yes.
All right, ladies. Any closing thoughts before we say goodbye to our Sunday friends?
Nope. None here.
Start with your first thought in the day. The first thought of the day, I think you said that when I popped in, Paula, is the first thought of the day is the most important thought because it sets the tone of your day. So if you're going to do something, when you wake up in the morning, the first thing is that thought. And then go to the mirror.
Awesome. Thank you, ladies, for this great conversation. And thank you all out there who are listening to us and coming on this journey of the Sunday Sundae pod. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week. Happy Sunday, Sunday.
Happy Sunday,
Sunday.
Sunday, everyone.